XRP holders, welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. Appreciate you guys as always for sticking around and showing so much love. But yeah, let's take a look at what's happening with XRP. Monday was a massive day. We heard a lot of, big things. And, market did react on a positive note, as you can see this for yourself right now. A lot of coins up over the course of the last 24 hours. And again, if you're looking at it on the weekly time frame as well, you're starting to see the market actually showing strength. Hopefully, this momentum carries on. So as far as XRP is concerned, it is one of the few coins that's actually seeing a little bit of a retracement, down 1.4% over the course of the last 24 hours. So the price currently sitting at $2.43, also down about 1% in Bitcoin. Comparative valuation still above 140 billion to be exact, $141.3 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume at about $2.6 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer for you guys. Anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So, some big news coming out of Japan. You can see this for yourself. Japanese real estate giant Open House is now accepting Dogecoin, Solana, and XRP. Open House is already accepting Ethereum and BTC, pretty much, allowing, people to purchase, with these assets, properties. And that is massive. And again, I know a lot of people are going to come out and say, well, this is just happening in one place. You'd be surprised, in areas around the world that, BTC is accepted. Even in North America, some sellers, hear me out, some sellers will, be actually willing to take crypto as a payment rather than just fiat. And I've actually heard a lot of stories about that, and you can really see which direction things are really moving in, and it's so much faster too. Kind of gets rid of a lot of these middlemen, and this is the beauty of blockchain technology. And again, this is something I wanted to share with you guys. Do let me know your personal thoughts down below, because this right here is some big news. And on top of that, speaking about that, you can see SEC to shift focus away from crypto enforcement under new leadership. Bullish news, of course. SEC, of course, we know the track record over the course of the last, few years when it came to digital assets and enforcing, it's just not fair, right? And as far as rules are concerned, just making rules out of thin air, because this is an emerging market, and of course, you kind of need to make new ground rules, for an emerging market such as crypto. But now, you're starting to see. As Donald Trump said, a lot of people are, fast to come out and say, Donald Trump's doing this, doing that, it's not good, it's not that. But when it comes to crypto, I know, people want moon right away. People want to see what happened back in November. But I've said this 1,000 times, you got to give credit where it belongs in terms of, what he said that would happen actually did happen when it comes to, bringing fairness to the crypto industry. We're actually seeing that happening, and a lot of regulation coming towards this industry. And again, it's not just going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a matter of a month or two. It takes time, and that's something that I want you guys to keep in mind. But you can really see progress being made. But with that said, shout out to Smoke for posting this. You can see 73% of surveyed investors hold cryptocurrencies beyond BTC and Ethereum, but mostly hold only one or two other, example XRP and Solana. Again, when it comes to regular investors, of course, the crypto degens don't really care. They love, picking up meme coins and, so on and so forth. But when it comes to an ordinary, investor, these guys have obviously lower risk, tolerance. So they would obviously want to go with something, with a higher market valuation, quote unquote, that are considered blue chip coins. So, obviously popular ones are, of course, XRP, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana. These are ones that are being talked about, over and over and over again, which of course is, not a surprise to me, but really tells you, where the retail side of things also obviously are sitting. And of course, aside from retail, we need to focus on how this is a complete shift that we're seeing happening. You're seeing institutional money flowing in. And speaking about that, you can see, yes, institutional investors actively hold XRP and intend to increase exposure when XRP ETPs are available for trading. Very, very interesting stuff. Again, people kind of overlook this. People overlook most of these things because people just want to see the price skyrocketing towards all-time highs. But as I've said to you guys before, sometimes I know the price, you really wanted to see continuation of towards the upside, hit all-time highs and just skyrocket like what we have seen over the course of the last few months. But there comes a time where you do see a stagnance within the price, and obviously if BTC becomes volatile, you are going to see XRP do the same. It's not an exception, but the way it has held, I continuously would love to, give props where it's deserved. This coin has consolidated so beautifully, and yet, people are, still ignoring this. We still did not retest the February 3rd wick. I'll say this 1,000 times, and this is something that's really, really important to note. But moving forward, look at what Smoke suggests. XRP is radical form of commodity money. Like gold is in your hands, the most liquid asset on the XRP ledger. And speaking about the XRP ledger, of course, people wanted to get to, the masses. People want, big corporations, to kind of come and start issuing, real world assets and obviously tokenizing them. But again, I know people want that to happen overnight. I think it's going to take some time, of course, to get to valuations. People want to have these valuations at, but I think, at the end of the year, compared to where we are at right now, I think, we will see a big enhancement, especially as we are seeing, speaking about stablecoin, a lot of big stablecoin, regulation coming into play, which of course I think will benefit Ripple in return. So again, the stage is set, one step at a time. Obviously, people want to see that ETF being approved. Maybe we do see that. Brad Gerlinghouse has said, he expects, sometime in the second half of the year, so quarter two. Obviously, he's just speculating, but who knows? Let's see what happens. Let me know your personal thoughts down below, because now, if you kind of go and take a look at this, SEC to shift focus away from crypto enforcement under new leadership. So could this really be a big, hint that, we might see multiple, different ETFs being approved, not just for digital asset like XRP, but, other native tokens as well, such as HBAR, such as XRP, such as XLM, and Solana and so forth. So again, we'll see what happens, but do let me know your personal thoughts down below in regards to that. Look at this, this right here, I think is playing a little bit of exciting role, not just within the crypto markets, but also the traditional markets. You can see Trump says he may, this is the key word to note, he may give tariff breaks to many countries, bullish for crypto. So again, as of now, people might start getting excited in the market. I think reacted really positively to this specific thing. And of course, like I said, some other big developments coming out as well. But like I said, you obviously want to, hear that, this is not 100% certain. He just may. So of course, if another country comes in, says something that, doesn't sit well with him, you might see, this tariff situation start, continuing to pretty much get dragged on, obviously into next month as well. So again, we'll see what happens. Obviously right now, it's still nothing that, has been set in stone, but I'll keep you guys covered. Let me know your personal thoughts down below regarding that. So looking at the price and all that, if you're looking at the dominance itself, it has gone down over the last few hours, but again, in a grand scheme of things, we are still really, really high, for the broader market to see an altcoin, rather than a lot of people are anticipating. But, BTC is what you want to be focusing on right now. Bitcoin had an amazing start to this week. We went up to $88,800. Again, we know the significance of that range, but, look at the importance of breaking out of that 85K mark that I've been speaking to you guys about over the last few days. We broke out of there, and, we actually pushed up to the likes of 88K, which again is nice to see. And as of now, I did mention this in my HBAR and CASPA update, we are in this upward trajectory since, we obviously filled the CME gap back on the 10th of March. So far, so good. Obviously, upward trajectory confirmation still is in the 23.6, so I'll keep you guys covered, of course, as always. If you're looking at XRP's price right now, let's take a look at XRP's price on the hourly time frame, because of course, we have already seen the price of, XRP on the daily time frame. But anyhow, if you're looking at it, we still, even though, we have seen a major spike in BTC's price. You still have not seen the 23.6 Fibonacci retracement level being retested, which of course I know a lot of people want this to happen, but again, it's not going to happen overnight. We need to understand what's happening with the dominance, what's happening with BTC. Even though Bitcoin did go up to $88,000, we went up to 250. Of course, this right here was the announcement of the lawsuit coming to an end, and as I've said to you guys before in my other updates, I think it's already priced in. I've already been saying this, over the last, few months, when the prices were going insane. I was saying, I think, people are overcoming, this SEC loss. No one really seems to care now because, of course, regulatory clarity is coming. So, sooner rather than later, regardless, what the, case or, whatever is happening, most likely it is going to get dropped, and that's exactly what we saw happening. So I think it was already priced in, but I think ETF is something we need to kind of realize, because ETF means more inflows to come. A regular ordinary person that doesn't really get involved into crypto when it comes to technical stuff. Obviously self custody exchanges, all that good stuff. Can purchase the likes of these digital assets so easily and have exposure into these coins when it comes to an ETF. It makes it so much easier. So again, I think that is that next up, but we'll see obviously one step at a time. Let me know down below what you guys think. Appreciate you guys as always. If you watch this video till the end, comment down below. Moon, love you all. See you later. Been Crypto ZX, and peace out.